Okay, so sleep, the ever elusive sleep. Now, we know how important sleep is because I've banged on about it so many times in the past, so I'm not going to do that again today. But just know that there's pretty much no process in the body that is not negatively affected by a lack of sleep. It is so important for so many things. Okay, so what can we do to get better sleep? I'm going to share one of my top tips with you tonight. Just to put this into perspective, this isn't a cure-all. Because, well, to put it into perspective, I've just written an article for the new members area on my upcoming website, and in that article I lay out 17 different tips for a better night's sleep. So like I say, this one tip is not a cure-all, but it is a pretty powerful one that everybody can implement in some way, okay? And it is your exposure to light. Now, most people have probably heard of melatonin. Melatonin is also known as your sleep hormone. And it basically helps with falling asleep, the onset of sleep, okay? And melatonin rises in response to darkness. We basically have cells in our eyes that have nothing to do with sight. They basically detect light, send a message to the brain, and in the simplest of senses, activate day mode, okay? Now, what most people don't know is that this message gets sent when we detect natural light and artificial light. Okay, now this is particularly problematic nowadays in the 21st century because we are constantly bathed in artificial light leading up to bed. Okay, so big overhead lights, TVs, phones, laptops, Kindles, etc. And essentially when we're looking at these and we're being exposed to this light, our brain is getting the daytime message. Okay, and what this does is it suppresses this release of melatonin. Now, I think a lot of us tend to think that, we're almost like computers and we can go up to bed, say, right, it's time for bed, and we can just shut off, okay? Now, unfortunately, that's not quite how it happens. And just because you think and you know it's time for bed, our internal rhythms don't, okay? And that is a battle that you're going to lose. Your internal rhythms will dictate when and how you sleep. And by sort of exposing yourself to artificial light leading up to bed, you are delaying your internal rhythms. And it has been shown that exposure to artificial light will increase the amount of time that it takes you to get to sleep, and it will decrease your sleep quality. And even if you think it doesn't affect you, it does, okay? It's been shown in studies monitoring brainwaves. It does affect you. Now, I mean, this is such a simple and powerful tip because, like I say, everybody can do it. Controlling your light environment up to bed can be so powerful for your sleep. And, I mean, obviously, how do you do it? You reduce your artificial exposure to light, your exposure to artificial light. Try and do it as much as you can, at least an hour before bed. So, how can we do that? Turning off big overhead lights like the one that's got on here and trying to use sort of small lights, lamps, etc. Use dimmers if you have them. They can be really effective. The biggest one by far, which is the one that most people don't want to do, is to no TV, no phones, no laptops, no Kindles, etc. at least an hour before bed. Now, I understand that's a big ask of a lot of people. There are ways around this. For laptops, you can download software. It's called Flux. It's F.lux. And essentially this basically filters out the blue light that has this negative effect on your sleep. Most smartphones now have dimmers. I know if you go on an iPhone, if you go into settings, screen and brightness, and then there's an application called night mode, and you can set this to come on in the evening, and again it dims the screen and just reduces your exposure to this blue light that negatively affects your sleep. One of the best things that you can do is get some of these bad boys. These are blue light blocking glasses. Now, most people won't wear these because, as you can probably tell, they do look a bit goofy. I personally don't care because I'm sat at home. So, nobody sees me, so I'm not really bothered. And if it's going to help my sleep, then why not use them? You can get some that don't have the tint now, that don't have the orange tint, so they look more like just like normal glasses, but do be aware these aren't as effective as blocking out the blue light as the tinted ones. I just got these off Amazon. They were pretty cheap, I think. I think they're called Tazza, Tazza, but there's lots of different brands. Now, the beauty of these is you can wear them whilst using your phones, watching TV, etc., and they won't negatively affect your sleep. So that's the beauty of wearing them. And I think that outweighs how stupid they look. But that's my opinion. Now, I just want to say as well, while we're talking about light exposure, it is also just as important to maintain darkness throughout the night as it is to reduce your exposure leading up to bed. So keeping your room as dark as possible, easiest fix for that, blackout blinds, blackout curtains and eye masks, okay? Now, I cannot tell you the difference that this has made, and take these off now, that this has made in conjunction, like I say, with sort of the 16 other tips that I alluded to earlier, but this is such a powerful one and such a simple one that everybody can implement. And, it is drastically improved the time it takes me to get to sleep, how sort of long I stay asleep. It's decreased the amount of times that I wake up. I feel feeling more refreshed, more energetic, and of course, you reduce your risk of all of those sort of metabolic, cardiovascular diseases, etc., that are associated with chronic sleep restriction. And like I say, it's such a simple tip that everybody can do to some extent. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. See if it helps. Like I say, it doesn't really cost anything to do it. So have a look, see if it helps, and let me know, because I'm always interested to know. And that's the tip for tonight, guys. Reduce your artificial light leading up to bed. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. And if you did get any value from this, please feel free to like, comment, and share, because I do always appreciate it. Have a fantastic evening, and I shall see you on the next video.